Welcome to Moxie Bets presented by Caesars Sportsbook. I'm your host, Katie Mox. Coming up on today's show, we'll recap the Ravens win over the Buccaneers. Is Tom Brady finished? That's Thursday Night Football for you. We'll also take a look at the World Series predictions and our NFL Sunday games preview. We'll tell you which way we're leaning, what picks you should be dialed in on, and of course, you know it, you've got some Mox Locks coming your way. But before we get started, we have to welcome in. It's a very special day for Moxie Bets. We've got Sean Green, one of the godfathers of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, one of my favorite podcasts, and actually one of my favorite people, also comedian extraordinaire. Sean, thanks for joining us.
Wow, thanks. What an intro, Katie. Appreciate it. And shout out to Omaha Productions. I got the memo about rocking the quarter zip. I saw the Manning cast. Got to rock the quarter zip. So, yeah, ready to go. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so let's get into the Mox Thought. So the Ravens beat the Buccaneers 27-22. I was on the Ravens in the first half. I still stick by that was the sharp play considering how they decided to flip it though last night.
Yeah,
they sucked in the first half. What is going on with John Harbaugh not going for the points there? And then they turned around and won the game. So what plays did you have? I know that you guys have been hitting on first touchdowns. Did you hit any last night?
No first touchdown hits last night. I had a K-Dot and anytime touchdown, which he got like 5 targets. He got a couple in the red zone. That's all you're looking for when you're getting like a 4-1 anytime touchdown. No, I thought Tom Brady would pull this out. I was on the Bucs. And, you know, if I'm going to lose bets, at least lose it in a historic fashion. This is the first time Tom Brady's been 2 games under 500. So at least I can tell people, hey, come on. You're watching history in the making, a.k.a. me losing a pick. Previous weeks you could make other excuses for the Bucs, like, it was in the interior line pressure, it was this, it was that. But this last night, it was just like, man, Brady's just not throwing the ball well. And then this defense, which kind of carried that team, even in that 2020 Super Bowl run, it's just not there. It's just not there.
This defense that held Patrick Mahomes to no touchdowns in the Super Bowl, looked terrible. I did take Tom Brady under 1.5 passing touchdowns, which a few years ago, you would dream of getting a line like 1.5 for Tom Brady. Took the under on that. That was at plus money. That ended up cashing. Do you think that Tom Brady is done? Like, is this going to be his? First of all, he should have retired, in my opinion. He's losing his marriage. He's losing everything. I know I've seen some tweets that you've sent about Giselle being a witch and also, working her magic on the Patriots.
Yes, I somehow stumbled upon a witch TikTok. And they had a theory that she was using her witch powers. Yeah, witch talk. She was using her powers to help Tom make these last couple Super Bowl runs. And then he broke the promise about retiring. So now all the positive witch stuff she was doing, now he's cursed. It certainly looks that way for Tom Brady. I don't know if it's a physical thing. When we did the preseason preview for the Tampa Bay Bucks, I go, you know what? Losing Bruce Arians, I think maybe that could be a big thing. And this Todd Bowles offense, Byron Leftwich, they're just not getting it done. So I think it's a mix of him hitting the wall and the offense just completely out of sync.
He's got a big contract waiting for him as a broadcaster. So I would even leave now. Why even go through the rest of the season? But we know that Tom Brady is going to stick this one out. Let's move on to more positive news. You are the biggest Philadelphia fan that I know. The World Series begins tonight in Houston as the Phillies take on the Astros. The Astros are back for their 4th World Series appearance in the past 6 years. Nobody likes the Astros except for Munaf. While the Phillies are returning after a 13-year hiatus for their potential World Series championship in franchise history. You're the Philly guy. How are we feeling?
Feeling great. Grease the polls. Let's go.
Let's go.
Normally I'm worried about jinxing it, but with this Phillies team, there's no jinxing it. Like they were down 4-0 against the Padres. I didn't even sweat it. I just opened up the Caesars Sportsbook app, fired away on a nice live bet there because this team is not going anywhere. They really bonded, and it's just like it reminds me totally like the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles in their Super Bowl run. Like this is a ragtag bunch, although they certainly have a giant payroll, but no one expected them to make it this far. And then they're facing off against an Astros team who is 7-0 in the playoffs. Yes, exactly. And if you bang on a trash can, Astros social media will go out of their way to tell you how they're not upset about that. They're not angry. They're over it. It's like, well, I'm glad you guys got over it, the ones who benefited from the cheating.
Yes.
People's teams who got cheated against, we still might have we're going to complain a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And when you do something that egregious and that just like stupid, to bang on garbage cans, like something that like, it's just, you're going to get it no matter what. I'm on the Phillies as well. I took the Phillies to win the series at plus 170. Now I did have Max Meyer from Caesars on Sportsline earlier this week. And he told me because Mattress Mac put these ridiculous bets on the Astros, they juiced up, or not juiced up, I guess juiced down, I don't know, gave plus money to the Phillies at plus 170 to try to kind of offset that a little bit. And I was like, all right, well, I got there because I totally jumped on the Phillies plus the 170. But, the last two teams that have gone through the postseason in a sweep have not won the World Series. So I feel like there's all kinds of historical trends on your side. And yeah, I mean, nobody outside of Houston wants to root for the Astros. So let's go Phillies. Grease up the polls.
Let's go Phils. Yeah, Verlander also really not good in the World Series. 5.68 ERA. Let's go.
Moxie Bets is presented for the people by Caesars Sportsbook, the greatest sports betting app of all time. Download it. Must be 21 or older. Time now for Capper's Corner. Let's get into some picks, but first, let's take a look at your Eagles. Sean, Caesars is showing some brotherly love with a Philadelphia championship boost. Caesars has boosted the Phillies to win the World Series, which we already know that you're on, and the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. This was at plus 1520, now plus 1800. You firing on that one? I mean, might as well, right? Plus 18.
Yeah, let's go. As long as you don't include the Sixers in any sort of championship Philly sports parlay, I am 100% in. I had a running trend going of every year I would go out to Vegas, I would place my Super Bowl bet on the Philadelphia Eagles to win, and then in 2017 I randomly didn't do it. They won the Super Bowl. So now I'm always scared about jinxing the Eagles.
Did you do it this year?
No, did not do a Super Bowl bet this year. I bet a ton. I bet a ton on the over 8.5 when that first opened. That win total was way too low. So I just went all in on the win total because I don't want to jinx the Super Bowl. So if they win the Super Bowl, you're welcome, City of Philadelphia.
Well, Sean also hilariously has a short about fandoms and how like weird they can be. Why don't you just talk about that and tell people where to find it? Because this kind of goes into that. The fact that you bet them every year and they haven't won, and the one year you didn't, they did, and then you didn't this year.
No, yeah. I did a short film called Fanland. It's just all about how, as fans, we are personally responsible for whether or not the team wins or loses. I remember responding to a message board thread after a really tough Eagles loss. They got destroyed by the Arizona Cardinals. Screw you, Chip Kelly. And the title of the thread goes, "What did you do to cause this loss?" And it was just all these different fans going, "I wore the wrong socks.
Yeah.
I didn't put my dog in the right jersey."
Yes.
So I am 100%. You got to get the juju dialed in. Silver lining playbook. I live that. I have trouble watching the movie. It's too real. So yeah, I'm all about the juju.
Where can people find that? Because it's hilarious. I've watched it like 5 times. It's on YouTube, but what's it called again?
Yeah. Just put Fanland in YouTube and you can.
Yeah, Fanland. Hilarious. All right. So let's talk about your Eagles and some future bets. They're 6-0 right now. So let's take a look at their futures. To win the NFC East, minus 400. I'm sure you locked that in already. Conference champs, plus 200. No, and our group chat, I did tell you that I locked in the Niners to win the conference at, plus 750. Super Bowl champs, plus 500. Jalen Hurts, plus 450 to win the MVP, only behind Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. What do you think about these odds? Have you already fired off on them? Is there some that you would tell people to take right now? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, laying minus 400 for the NFC East, I think is just crazy. And as much as I like Jalen Hurts and he's made a nice jump up, I still think the committee is dying to give it to Josh Allen. This is finally going to be their year where they can give it to Josh Allen.
Yeah.
The real value, I think, is in the Eagles to win the NFC. Like, they're going to get that number one seed. Yeah. Sorry, Katie. I think that's kind of the best value. Yeah. Or if you want to just take them to win the Super Bowl, because then if they do win the NFC, you're sitting on a nice plus money bet. I mean, right now you would expect maybe they're going to be facing the Chiefs or the Bills, where they would probably still be an underdog out there in Arizona. So I think there's some value there, even though it's been squeezed out a little bit, to take them. Because if you look at like the quarterbacks they're playing the rest of the way, it's like Sam Ehlinger. Like, you could make a case that Dan Jones right now is the best quarterback they're going to be facing. And the NFC is it's very weird this year. And they're really set up to get the number one seed right now.
Well, the NFC is crazy. The NFC, least is the NFC feast, and then the NFC West, a bunch of them are at 500 or below. So I feel like everything is completely flip-flopped. I, of course, still believe in the 49ers. This is a team that gets healthy in the second half of the year. This is a team that's going to do better in the second half of the year. I think that the Seattle Seahawks are frauds, and we'll get into that a little bit later. I mean, there's no way that they're going to win the NFC West. And I do think there is a potential that we could have an NFC championship game between the Niners and the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll see how that plays out. But at 750 to 1, as soon as the McCaffrey trade went in, I just thought that was a good bet. But I agree with you that at plus 200, that's the most value and the most likely that's going to happen for your Eagles. So before we get into bets for this week, let's just look at some betting trends through week 7. Road teams against the spread hitting at 52%. Underdogs, dogs are barking this season. Yeah, I know.
I know.
I wish I had the dog, the voice that you guys have. Yeah. Okay. Underdogs hitting it.
Been a great year for underdogs. Yeah. 100%.
58%. Unders also 58%. That's not as fun. And underdogs of 4 points or more, they're 37-19 against the spread, hitting at 66%. So yeah, it's the year of the dog, which I know makes people at SGPN very happy. So let's look at the Steelers and the Eagles. This is the Battle of Pennsylvania. Probably not as exciting as maybe it was in years past. Eagles money line minus 550. Nobody's taken that unless you're Vegas Dave or one of those guys. Eagles minus 11. Huge spread here, over under 43. I don't think I have to ask you which way you're leaning on this, but give me your play.
Yeah, I'm in on the Eagles. Normally I like Tomlin as a dog. Historically, he's been very good as a dog. Had him catching 7.5 last week against the Dolphins. The issue here is like when they face those top teams, especially this version of the Steelers, they just get destroyed. I mean, look at what happened when they faced the Buffalo Bills. Now, Eagles aren't quite the Buffalo Bills, but coming off a bye, I think we match up great against the Steelers team. We're going to bring a ton of pressure and cause Kenny Pickett to turn the ball over. So I think it's high. It's minus 11, but this is back-to-back road spot for the Steelers. Very tough spot for them. Go Birds.
Go Birds. And you set me up perfectly for mine because you said Kenny Pickett to turn the ball over. I'm taking a disrespectful prop. I'm taking Kenny Pickett over 1.5 interceptions. For him to get at least 2, this is at plus 172 for the over. So he's thrown 7 interceptions in 4 games. And your Eagles are NFL's number 1 takeaway team with 14 in just 6 games. Of those 14 takeaways, 9 are interceptions, which ranks second in the league. Pickett is just the 7th quarterback in NFL history with 2 or fewer touchdowns and 7 or more interceptions through his first 4 games. This guy's thrown at least 2 interceptions at plus 172. Like, take my money. Like, of course I'm going to take this all day long. There's just no way that he's not throwing 1 pick, and I think he'll throw 2.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Normally they set an interception prop at 0.5, but Caesars was like, we can't deal with this. We have to set it at 1.5. The juice is going to be too crazy if we set it at 0.5. Yeah. And you got Darius Slay, Bradbury, and then Avonte Maddox, the nickel cornerback. It's going to be tough sledding for Kenny Pickett.
Oh, God, I can't wait to see it. All right, next up, let's talk Patriots at Jets. The Patriots are looking to bounce back after losing to the Bears on Monday Night Football, while the Jets are looking to keep the train rolling. Robert Saleh, shout out to him. A win this weekend, Sean, will get them over their season win total that was just 5.5, one of the biggest liabilities for sportsbooks. Do you think Gang Green can do it? Do you think they can win against the Pats?
It's been a great story and it's been fun, but I'm all over New England here, laying the small number. One, Belichick just dominates the Jets. It's personal for him. 34-10 straight up in his time in New England. He's also 34-15 coming off a loss as a favorite. And really, how have the Jets been winning? They've been playing really good defense and they've been getting some big plays from Breece Hall. Unfortunately, Breece Hall out for the year. Also, the Elijah Vera Tucker, who's been really good for their offensive line, he's also out for the year. So, unfortunately, the Jets just can't have nice things. They had 2 great draft picks, and they're both out for the season. I feel bad for the Jets fans. They're diehards. I love them. Zach Wilson is entertaining, to say the least, but I just don't see them doing it.
I agree with you. I'm totally laying the points of the Patriots minus the 2.5. Patriots have won 12 straight in a row. You alluded to their numbers, but 12 straight in a row is crazy. No Breece Hall, like you said, out with an ACL injury. And New England was embarrassed losing to the Bears. I mean, this is a huge get-right spot for them, so I think they're going to show up big. And Zach Wilson, to your point, is just not very good. Last year versus the Patriots, 0 pass touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So, I don't think it's going to be a good one for him. Under is also 25 and 10, 71% in divisional games this season, averaging about 39.3 total points per game. So I might lean on an under in this game as well, because I don't know how much offense that Zach Wilson is going to produce. And I think that this Patriots defense is going to step up big. Let's talk Giants at Seattle. It's another New York team. They're on the road in Seattle this week. Seattle is somehow leading the NFC West right now with Geno Smith. Again, I think that they're frauds. But what do you think of this game? Giants money line plus 140. They're 5-0 straight up as underdogs this season. And the spread is 3 over under 44.5. What do you think?
I see the case for this Giants team because they much like the Jets keep winning in unbelievable fashion, but I think that comes to an end here. One, it's a horrible travel spot for the Giants. You go all the way down to Jacksonville, then you go all the way back to New York, then all the way out to Seattle. Matchup wise, this is really a great setup for the Seattle Seahawks. Kenneth Walker is going to feast against this Giants defense. Now, Travis Etienne had a pretty good game. Of course, that fumble as he was running into the end zone kind of switched the game. So if he can hold on to the ball, which I think he can, they'll be in a good spot. And the Giants offense, they're running like wing T, power I, they're running old school college stuff. Yeah. And I think a guy like Pete Carroll, who has a ton of experience coaching in college, he can work up a game plan to take them out. So I'm taking Seattle -3. Katie, I know you're not a big Geno Smith gal.
I'm not. Well, you got to give him his flowers to a certain extent. It's like he came out and he played really well, and I came on this show and I was like, he's a fraud. He's not going to be good. And then, okay, fine, he's good and he's playing really well and he's better than Russell Wilson. And everybody hates Russell Wilson now. It's just we're like living in bizarro world.
It's the upside down.
Yeah. It's literally the upside down. So, fine. Geno Smith. I still think that they're frauds, though. I think that the Niners are a better team, and I think that the Rams are a better team, and I even think the Cardinals, now that DeAndre Hopkins is back, are a better team, and that this is just going to flip-flop in the second half of the season, and Seattle is going to show who they actually are, which is who they were against the Niners, scoring basically no points. However, I'm going to back up Crame Dog on this one. I'm going to take the Giants money line plus the 140. A stat that I read today, in the past 20 seasons, teams who are 6-1 or better as underdogs in their 8th game are 10-1 against the spread and 9-2 straight up. They are also 5-0 as underdogs this season. And Daniel Jones is the first quarterback since 1950 with 5 game-winning drives, first 7 games of the season, and the Giants, they're just 1 win shy of hitting their preseason win total of 7. So let's go, G-Men. Come on.
Boo.
I know you can't give it to him.
Yeah, I'm not going to give it up to the Giants.
Yeah, that one's pour one out for Crame Dog on this one. All right, let's talk Cardinals against the Vikings. The Vikings are coming off a bye week, and DeAndre Hopkins is sure to have more involvement with the Cardinals offense this week. What are you putting your money on in this one? Cardinals plus 162 on the money line. Vikings minus 195. Spread 3.5. Over under 49.
Yeah, I like both. So give me the Arizona plus 3.5 and sprinkle some on the Cardinals money line coming off the extra rest from Thursday. To your point, Katie, you mentioned like the with and without DeAndre Hopkins splits are pretty jarring. Kyler's just much better with DeAndre Hopkins there. And certainly their defense creating those pick sixes, that helped as well. You talk about fraudulent teams. I feel like this Vikings team is certainly one we could circle as potentially fraudulent. And really, we've seen the Vikings defense struggle with very good receivers, a la you saw what they did against the Eagles, like A.J. Brown went off, Quez Watkins, Devonta Smith, and even Miami, like before their quarterback got knocked out, Waddle. Yeah, quarterbacks. I mean, it was a disaster down in South Beach for Miami there, but Waddle and Hill were able to get theirs. Now the game changed again when Waddle fumbled there randomly, but I think the Cards receivers are going to have a good matchup against this Vikings team. I am worried about the new release of Modern Warfare, Call of Duty. Been doing some deep dives as to whether or not Kyler is going to be putting in the doing his homework this week. Yeah. So that's slightly concerning. But other than that, I'm on the Cards here, plus 3.5. And the Cards in general, like Cliff and Kyler, they are so much better on the road. I still can't figure out why, but I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to take them on the money line and on the spread here.
Well, first of all, this just occurred to me. Like, how has Call of Duty not reached out to Kyler Murray for a brand deal? Right?
I know they're getting so much free
commercial. Yes. So much free publicity. Yeah. And I saw last night that Patrick Mahomes was like, oh, Call of Duty drops tonight. And he like tagged all these players. And I was like, hey, invite Kyler. He obviously likes this. But I agree with you. I'm taking Arizona. I like them against the spread. I like the money line as well. I also like their team total over 22.5. They're averaging over this year. But of course, that's inflated because they scored 44 in the last week. And Dalton gave them 14 of those points, which absolutely ruined my life. But then Christian McCaffrey got traded to the Niners and all was fine. But to your point too, Arizona's offense is just different with DeAndre Hopkins. I didn't see anything on Caesars right now in terms of his prop bets, but I think he's going to get a touchdown. And I know you guys like to sprinkle on the first touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised if that is DeAndre Hopkins too. We'll have to see what that's juiced at. But now let's look at the Titans at the Texans. Who cares about the Texans? You know, if they struggled after a loss against the Raiders last week. Sean, like, how are you feeling on this one? Titans minus 140, spread 2.5, over under 40.5.
Yeah, this game is a little weird. Normally, I would not like taking a road division favorite here, but I think situationally you got to take the Tennessee Titans here. Derrick Henry is just going to have a massive game. If you've looked at like his stat line for the last 3 games against the Texans, it's insane. It's like 200 yards, 250. Yep. He's had like 6 touchdowns. He's going to dominate. And we saw this Texans rush defense. It's just garbage. I mean, they made Brandon Jacobs, look like Emmitt Smith. That's a compliment for the Dallas Cowboys. We can edit that out. Look like Charlie Garner, or they made him look amazing, and he's good. He's Brandon Jacobs, or sorry, he's Josh Jacobs. I'm all over the map here. My point is, the Houston Texans made Josh Jacobs look like a Hall of Fame running back. He's not. Yep. And I think Derrick Henry is going to run all over them. There's a chance Malik Willis starts this game. So I think you're getting a discount. And I think Malik Willis, they're just going to let him hand off to Derrick Henry a bunch. They're not going to let him throw that much. So this is pretty interesting fantasy-wise, but Texans defense is just going to get crushed. So give me the Titans laying the short number.
100%. I'm also just going straight into that. Henry over 98.5 rushing yards is at minus 130 on Caesar Sportsbook. He has had the longest streak at the NFL of 130 plus scrimmage yards. Week 3 versus Nevada, he had 143. Then against Indianapolis, 147. Against Washington, 132, 138. Like you said, he's going to run all over them. This is high at 98. I don't remember the last time I've seen rush yards that high this season, but he's going to do it for sure.
No, the prop is insanely high. You never see a prop this high, but for good reason. He's going to get the volume. He's tough to tackle. He's going to dominate. So big dog's going to eat.
The big dog is going to eat. Oh my God, I love that. That's something that we've always said in my family, and certainly about Frank Gore. When he was on the 49ers, we called him the big dog. And every time he came up, we're like, the big dog is hungry. Let him eat. So I love that you said that here. Okay, let's move on to my Niners versus the Rams. We're hoping to see more Christian McCaffrey here. Niners are favored -1. This line has dropped down to 1, over under 42. Niners money line -125. What do you think?
Well, as you know, Katie, the San Francisco 49ers just own the Los Angeles Rams. I don't need to explain it to you.
7-0 in the regular season.
Which, obviously there's one game in the postseason, which we will not speak of.
We don't talk about that.
But part of me, when I was handicapping this game, I'm like, oh, do I get cute? Do I take the Rams here? Coming off a bye. They're desperate team, kitchen sink game. But then I go, you know what? Shanahan just owns Sean McVay. And really the matchup that jumped out at me is the Rams offensive line continues to struggle. We gave out Matt Stafford to lead the league in interceptions at 17-1 preseason. That's looking pretty good right now. And then they just lost Noteboom, one of their offensive linemen as well. So I think this is a great spot for Bosa and the 49ers defensive line. Their defense finally getting healthy. To your point, Christian McCaffrey should have a game. Slightly worried about Deebo because he plays so well against the Rams. He's dealing with the hammy, but I had to, I'm coming on your show. I'm not going to take the Rams.
Come on. Yes. No, I love that. Obviously, I'm taking the Niners as well, especially now that's gone to 1. It was at 1.5 earlier. And look, the Niners are getting healthier on defense. I believe we're getting Verrett back, which is going to be great. There is going to be no Debo. I don't think he's playing in this game. He hasn't been practicing. But you do have McCaffrey. If we didn't have Debo and then we didn't have McCaffrey, then I would say, but I think that McCaffrey is going to be up to speed. Maybe he's going to be taking a lot more of those snaps. I mean, they're kind of the same thing, but different, right? McCaffrey is a running back who can also be a receiver, and Debo is a receiver who can also be a running back. So I feel like that can fill in pretty good there. And Christian McCaffrey did tweet, for all of you Game of Thrones fans, or on his Instagram, he had that Cersei kind of looking out at King's Landing before she sets the wildfire off and kills everybody. So I feel like McCaffrey is going to be setting wildfire off in SoFi. Give me Kyle Shanahan and the Niners minus the 1. Let's go. Okay, let's get into our Mox Locks. My Mox Locks. I'm going with San Francisco minus the 1.5, and I'm taking Pickett over the 1.5 interceptions. What are you running to the window with?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do like that Matt Stafford over interception. For me,
oh, yes.
My lock is Seattle minus 3. Again, I'm not saying they're winning the NFC West, Katie. I'm just saying they're winning this Sunday against the New York Giants. The matchup's there, and it's actually a really brutal spot there for the Giants. And then also, yeah, give me the New England Patriots laying 2.5, whatever you can get it at. Belichick off a loss is very good, and he just owns the New York Jets. He's not letting the Jets get away with the win here. So yeah, love Seattle, love New England, and love coming on this show. A lot of fun, Katie.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. This is Sean Green from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Sean, let everybody know where to find you. Obviously, you're on YouTube, you're on social media, you're also streaming on television now. Talk to the people.
I'm everywhere, Katie. Yeah, give us a follow on Twitter at Gambling Podcast. Type in SGPN into any sort of app store. Got a free app. You guys can check that out. And then obviously Sports Gambling Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever great podcasts are found.
I love it, Sean. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll see you next time. This has been Moxie Bets presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Don't forget to follow us on social as well at Moxie Bets. We'll see you Monday.